Have you ever wondered what secrets lie buried beneath the marble floors and golden walls of one of the world's most sacred places? What if I told you that behind the Vatican's holy facade, there are mysteries so dark and unsettling that they could shake the very foundations of what millions believe? Today, we're about to uncover 7 spine-chilling secrets that the Vatican has kept hidden for centuries. Secrets that involve stolen bodies of legendary kings, forbidden teachings that challenge everything you thought you knew about Christianity, and ancient Egyptian treasures that were taken through conquest and war. But here's what makes this even more disturbing. Some of these secrets aren't just historical curiosities, they're active cover-ups that continue to this very day. And the most shocking part? One of these mysteries involves a discovery so controversial that it could rewrite the entire story of Jesus Christ himself. So if you think you're ready to have your beliefs challenged and your mind blown, then buckle up, because what you're about to discover will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the world's most powerful religious institution. But first, your luck might just change if you hit that like button and subscribe before this video ends. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. For over 2,000 years, historians and archaeologists have searched desperately for one of the most important burial sites in human history. The tomb of Alexander the Great, the legendary conqueror who built one of the largest empires the world has ever seen, has remained lost to time. Despite countless expeditions across Egypt and the Mediterranean, his final resting place has never been found. But according to a theory so audacious that it sounds like fiction, the answer might be hiding in plain sight. Picture this scenario. What if Alexander's body didn't vanish into the sands of time as everyone believes? What if instead, through a series of historical accidents and deliberate deceptions, his mummified remains were secretly transported from Egypt to Italy during the medieval period? And here's where it gets truly mind-bending. What if for hundreds of years, Christian pilgrims have been unknowingly praying before the body of a pagan emperor, believing it to be the sacred remains of Saint Mark the Evangelist? This isn't just some wild conspiracy theory dreamed up by internet forums. There are genuine historical gaps that make this possibility terrifyingly plausible. For centuries after his death, Alexander's tomb in Alexandria was one of the most famous pilgrimage sites in the ancient world. Roman emperors like Julius Caesar and Augustus made special journeys to visit his body, but then, mysteriously, all traces of his tomb simply disappeared from historical records. How does the burial site of one of history's most famous figures just vanish without explanation? The theory suggests that during the chaos of medieval times, Venetian merchants may have stolen Alexander's mummified body from Alexandria. In an era when holy relics were worth their weight in gold, these merchants could have smuggled the remains back to Italy, where they were eventually misidentified as belonging to Saint Mark. The body was then enshrined in the magnificent Basilica di San Marco in Venice, where it remains to this day. Think about the implications of this for just a moment. If this theory holds any truth, then for nearly 1,000 years, devout Christians have been offering prayers and seeking miracles from the preserved corpse of a man who once conquered most of the known world in the name of Greek gods. A warrior king who lived 3 centuries before Christ was even born, now venerated as a Christian saint. But this is just the beginning of the Vatican's hidden mysteries. Our second secret takes us into even more controversial territory, challenging the very origins of Christianity itself. Throughout human history, religious stories have shaped civilizations, guided moral systems, and provided meaning to billions of lives. But sometimes, when we dig deeper into these ancient tales, we discover similarities so striking that they force us to ask uncomfortable questions that religious authorities would prefer we never asked. There exists a theory so controversial that it's been dismissed outright by traditional scholars and church officials alike. This theory suggests that the story of Jesus Christ, the foundation of Christianity, may not be as unique as believers have been taught for 2 millennia. Instead, it might be a retelling of a much older story that originated thousands of years earlier in ancient Egypt. The story centers around Horus, an Egyptian god who was worshipped long before Christianity ever existed. Horus was said to be born of a virgin mother whose name was remarkably similar to Mary. His birth was announced by divine messengers, and his arrival was marked by a special star in the sky. 3 wise men came to honor the newborn godchild. When Horus reached adulthood, he was baptized in a sacred river, and the man who performed this baptism was later killed. Horus gathered 12 followers who became his disciples. He performed miracles, healed the sick, cast out evil spirits, and even brought the dead back to life. And then comes the most chilling parallel of all. Horus was betrayed, executed, buried for 3 days, and then resurrected from the dead. If you're feeling a sense of déjà vu right now, you're not alone. These similarities have led some researchers to propose that early Christian missionaries, when spreading their faith through Egypt and the Mediterranean world, may have deliberately incorporated elements from existing religious traditions to make their message more appealing to potential converts. The traditional church establishment has fought against this theory with everything they have, dismissing it as academic speculation and pointing to differences in the ancient texts. But even their critics acknowledge that some remarkable parallels exist. The question that haunts religious scholars is this: are we looking at the natural evolution of human spiritual storytelling, or something far more deliberate and calculated? This controversy touches the very heart of faith itself, which brings us to third terrifying secret. Deep within the ancient ruins of Alexandria, there once stood what many consider to be humanity's greatest treasure. Not gold, not jewels, but something far more precious and dangerous. The great library of Alexandria housed the collected wisdom of the entire ancient world. Hundreds of thousands of scrolls containing knowledge that could have advanced human civilization by centuries. Medical treatments that could cure diseases we still struggle with today. Astronomical calculations that mapped the cosmos with stunning accuracy. Mathematical principles that wouldn't be rediscovered until the Renaissance. But here's what will chill you to the bone. This incomprehensible repository of human knowledge didn't just disappear due to fires or natural disasters, as most history books claim. According to whispered theories that have persisted for centuries, the most valuable scrolls were never destroyed at all. Instead, they were systematically removed and hidden away by those who understood their true power. Some researchers believe that when Julius Caesar's ships caught fire during the siege of Alexandria in 48 BCE, creating chaos throughout the city, certain individuals seized the opportunity. Under cover of the confusion and flames, the most precious manuscripts were secretly loaded onto ships and smuggled out of Egypt. These weren't random looters grabbing whatever they could find. This was a calculated operation to acquire knowledge that could grant unprecedented power to whoever possessed it. The theory suggests that these stolen treasures of human wisdom eventually found their way to Rome, and from there, into the most secure vaults in the world. The Vatican's secret archives, hidden beneath layers of religious bureaucracy and sacred protocol, these ancient scrolls may still exist today, containing secrets that the Church believes are too dangerous for the world to know. Think about what this means. Medical knowledge that could revolutionize healthcare, scientific principles that could accelerate technological advancement, historical records that might completely rewrite what we know about ancient civilizations. All of it locked away in chambers that no outsider will ever see. But the Vatican's collection of forbidden knowledge doesn't stop with stolen Egyptian scrolls. Our fourth secret reveals something even more disturbing about how the Church has systematically acquired treasures from conquered civilizations. In 1839, Pope Gregory XVI did something that still raises uncomfortable questions today. He established the Gregorian Egyptian Museum, filling 9 elaborate galleries within the Vatican with an astounding collection of Egyptian artifacts, statues of ancient gods, hieroglyphic tablets, sacred mummies, and priceless relics from one of history's greatest civilizations. But here's the question that makes many historians squirm with discomfort. How exactly did these treasures, created thousands of miles from Rome by a completely different civilization, end up in the heart of the Catholic Church? The answer is one that the Vatican has never fully acknowledged. These weren't gifts or legitimate purchases. They were spoils of war, taken by force when Rome conquered Egypt after the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. When Mark Antony and Cleopatra fell to Roman might, their entire civilization became a treasure trove for the victors. Sacred statues were torn from temples, mummies were removed from their eternal resting places, holy artifacts were repurposed as decorations for Roman villas. For centuries, these stolen treasures passed through the hands of Roman nobles and church officials, until they eventually found their way into the Vatican's collection. Today, while modern Egypt desperately fights for the return of their cultural heritage, these ancient artifacts remain locked away in Rome, silent witnesses to an act of cultural appropriation that continues to this day. The Vatican presents this museum as a noble effort to preserve history and share knowledge with the world. But the uncomfortable truth is that every piece in that collection was taken from its rightful home through conquest and domination. This pattern of acquisition brings us to our fifth secret, one involving a discovery so controversial that it challenges the very foundations of Christian doctrine. In the sun-baked ruins of ancient Egypt, among piles of discarded papyrus and forgotten trash, archaeologists made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the religious world. Hidden beneath layers of mundane documents, tax records, and grocery lists, they found fragments of an ancient manuscript that the church had spent centuries trying to erase from history. This wasn't just any old text. It was part of the first apocalypse of James, a work that claims to contain the secret teachings of Jesus Christ, teachings so radical and dangerous that they were banned from the biblical canon and condemned as heresy by church authorities. But why would the church go to such extreme lengths to suppress these writings? What could be so threatening about additional words attributed to Jesus? The answer will shake everything you believe about Christianity to its core. According to this forbidden text, Jesus taught that the world we live in is not a divine creation at all. Instead, our entire reality is described as a prison, crafted by a false god who deceives humanity into believing he is the true creator. This malevolent being, according to the text, created the material world not out of love, but as a trap to imprison human souls and prevent them from reaching the true divine realm. This worldview completely contradicts everything mainstream Christianity teaches about God, creation, and salvation. It suggests that the deity worshipped by billions of Christians might actually be an imposter, a cosmic deceiver who has fooled humanity for millennia. You can understand why church authorities would want this text buried forever. If these really are the words of Jesus, then everything the church has taught about the nature of God and reality is fundamentally wrong. The implications are so staggering that they could completely destroy the foundations of organized Christianity. Yet this manuscript survived, hidden in the Egyptian desert for over 1,000 years, waiting to emerge and challenge everything we thought we knew. Our sixth secret reveals how the Vatican has engaged in deception even within its own sacred walls. For generations, visitors to the Vatican have gazed in wonder at two ancient mummies displayed in protective glass cases. These preserved figures were presented as evidence of the Church's scholarly interest in Egyptian civilization, authentic artifacts from the time of the pharaohs. Pilgrims and tourists alike marveled at these ancient remains, believing they were looking at individuals who lived thousands of years ago. But recent scientific analysis has revealed a truth so embarrassing that the Vatican has barely acknowledged it. When researchers from the Smithsonian Institution conducted DNA analysis on bone fragments from these mummies, they discovered something absolutely shocking. These bodies didn't come from ancient Egypt at all. They were the remains of a medieval European man and woman who died only about 500 years ago. Someone had deliberately created fake mummies, wrapping medieval corpses in the style of ancient Egyptian burial practices and presenting them as authentic artifacts. This wasn't an innocent mistake or case of mistaken identity. This was deliberate fraud, designed to deceive visitors into believing they were seeing genuine ancient Egyptian mummies. The question that haunts investigators is this: who created these forgeries, and why? The answer likely lies in the mummy mania that swept through 19th century Europe, when Egyptian artifacts became incredibly valuable and highly sought after by collectors and institutions. In this fevered market for ancient relics, some individuals were apparently willing to manufacture fake antiquities to meet demand. The fact that these forgeries ended up in the Vatican's collection raises uncomfortable questions about how thoroughly the Church vets its acquisitions and whether other items in their vast collection might also be fraudulent. But our final secret is perhaps the most disturbing of all, involving a practice that continues to this day within the Vatican's most sacred spaces. In Catholic tradition, when a holy person dies and their body remains perfectly preserved without decay, it's considered a miracle, a sign that the individual was so pure and blessed that even death cannot touch them. These incorrupt bodies become objects of veneration, drawing pilgrims from around the world who come to witness what they believe is divine intervention. But behind the scenes, the Vatican has been engaging in a practice so deceptive that it undermines the very concept of miraculous preservation. For decades, church officials have been secretly using advanced embalming techniques, borrowed directly from ancient Egyptian mummification methods, to artificially preserve the bodies of saints and popes. Between 1975 and 2008, a clandestine group of specialists within the Vatican is known to have embalmed at least 31 prominent church figures. This isn't speculation or rumor, it's documented fact, though the Vatican has never openly discussed the practice in detail. The most striking example is Pope John XXIII, who died in 1963. More than 60 years later, his body still appears remarkably well preserved, displayed in a glass coffin for all to see. Visitors often gasp in amazement at what they assume is a miraculous sign of his holiness. But the reality is that his preservation is the result of careful, ongoing chemical treatment designed to prevent decay. The Vatican presents these preserved bodies as evidence of divine blessing, allowing millions of believers to pray before them and seek miracles from their presence. But they're actually looking at the results of human intervention, not divine preservation. This practice raises profound questions about the nature of faith and deception. When the Church artificially creates what appears to be a miracle, are they serving their followers or betraying them? Is the manipulation of natural processes to manufacture symbols of the divine ultimately an act of devotion or fraud? If these revelations have opened your eyes to the hidden mysteries that surround us, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to continue uncovering the secrets that powerful institutions don't want you to know, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Because the truth is out there, waiting to be discovered, and together we can shine light into even the darkest corners of history.